やれやれ。
Mori Nagayoshi, Oni Musashi, is a suitably volatile, hybrid, offensive servant. He pairs a powerful noble phantasm with intriguing critical damage potential, while at the same time possessing severe defensive flaws that bring much joy to his allies, as he leaves behind a most welcome parting gift. Mori is a limited 3-star berserker, exclusively available during certain Gouda Gouda events, having featured on less than a handful of banners since his initial JP release back in 2019. While this can impede masters on their quest to get him to higher NP levels, Mori, much like fellow Gouda Gouda limited servant Okada Izo, makes up for this by boasting a powerful offense. This begins with his practically unavoidable boss-killing noble phantasm, Ningen Makutsu, a single target NP that both ignores invincibility and ignores enemy defensive buffs, piercing the target to their very core. Surviving enemies are afflicted with a 3-turn defensive debuff, then allowing Mori and his allies to continue their bloodthirsty work. A Buster NP, it is complemented by Mori's triple Buster deck, allowing for ruthless Buster Brave Chains. Mori can further boost the damage of his NP via his second skill, Blood-Soaked Brute rank A, which allows him to buff his attack upon attacking an enemy 3 times over 3 turns, with each individual attack buff lasting for a whole 3 turns each. This also comes with an accompanying defensive debuff for the same period. This defensive debuff, on top of his Berserker class and low base health, might make Mori seem as flimsy as a berserker in the wind. And indeed, it does. But that might not be as bad as it seems, for even in death, Mori brings something to the party, a bonus wrapped up in his second niche of a critical damage dealer. Alongside his noble phantasm, Mori shows his impressive damage credentials through a critical damage niche. This is granted through his first skill, Mental Corruption Wicked, which increases Mori's critical damage by up to a colossal 100% for 3 turns, in addition to giving him 100% debuff resistance for that same period. However, his critical potential is limited by the Berserker class's absurdly low star weight. To counteract this, he can use his final skill, Oni Musashi's Will and Testament. This dramatically increases his star gather rate for 1 turn, allowing him to execute upon his critical promise. And it is with this third skill that the boons, both offensive and defensive, of his second skill come into play. The attack buffs further augment his already impressive critical hit damage. But perhaps more notable are the role his defensive debuffs play in speeding up his all but inevitable demise. This triggers a second latent effect on his third skill. Upon his death, Mori's last will drops 20 stars up to 3 turns after the skill is used, reflecting the supposed joy felt by his allies upon the death of this most erudite yet volatile figure. And as a low-rarity berserker with numerous defensive weaknesses, there is an excellent chance that outside the shortest of battles or the greatest of protection, he may indeed perish. However, at this point, it is vital to note a major wrinkle in Mori's gameplay, particularly concerning his first skill, namely, a significant debuff attached to it, that all but nullifies any buff he may receive thereafter. Despite their impressive value, Mental Corruption's aforementioned critical damage and debuff resistance buffs come at significant cost, as the skill possesses a third, far more menacing feature. Namely, it reduces the buff success rate of any incoming buffs by 100% for 3 turns. This includes buffs from allies as well as his own, such as the Ignore Invincibility on his Noble Phantasm. And worse still, it cannot be removed through a debuff clear, as it actually counts as a buff. While there are some rare exceptions, namely any buff that has over a 100% chance of hitting, such as most taunts or mystic code buffs, This does severely impact Mori's effectiveness, and means this skill should be used last, after both Mori's other skills and those of his allies, and this can perhaps even hamper the party's overall offensive coordination. There will, however, one day be a servant capable of removing this so-called buff from Mori, but only to condemn him to a fate far worse. Even with his notable drawbacks, both his inherent flimsiness and the buff's success reduction, Mori is an incredibly impressive offensive servant, and his performance is only further enhanced by supports that can accentuate his strengths and help cover for his weaknesses. These include classic buster supports like Merlin, Chengong, and Shakespeare, as well as Leonidas, who not only provides buster support and critical stars, but also a valuable defensive presence via his taunts. Mori Nagayoshi is a fun servant with a dynamic offense, and it is a shame that his availability is so limited. With an immensely strong and well-rounded offense, and even a gifted death, Mori Nagayoshi is undoubtedly a 3-star superstar. Thank you all for watching. I have been Jeans. If you enjoyed, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. I really do appreciate it. And also feel free to check out some previous episodes of the series, such as on Cuchulainn or Billy the Kid. I've been Jeans. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.